So this is the very first Snapdragon 8 Elite device. And you know what next we're gonna do? We're gonna game. So let's back up and let's game. Hey guys, Thunder E here, and with me I have the brand new Realme GT 7 Pro. And this device has one of the very first Snapdragon 8 Elite chipsets. And full disclosure, I got this about 24 hours ago, so I spent time making sure I can get gaming right for you guys. And I'm super excited to actually show you on this device. Now, the Realme GT 7 Pro is really awesome because this is just my first experience of something that I saw last week at the Snapdragon Summit in Hawaii, where they announced the Snapdragon 8 Elite, and it's finally here. It's literally a week from announcement to actually a launch device. So that is super cool. But before we get into the weeds, let's look at this device for a second. It's a pretty nice device overall. You've got a 6.78-inch display. This is Full HD Plus display. Maximum nit brightness is 6,500 nits. That is insane. It's super bright on your screen. You can't see that. I got to drop it down a bit more for you so you get a good idea of how well it looks. This is really nice on the screen. 120 Hz refresh rate, something we love for gaming. Now, in terms of battery, you've got a 7,000 milliamp battery. Yes, you heard that right, 7,000. And it doesn't look super thick or super big, which is nice to see. You've got 120 watt super volt charging, which is nice again to get you back into that gaming session. And finally, of course, it is powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset. That's the chipset we saw that has the brand new Orion CPU and of course that brand new sliced Adreno GPU. So how's that going to impact our gaming performance? We can't wait to see that. Now, for the people who are concerned about cameras, got some brand new 50 megapixel main camera, 6 megapixel telephoto, 8 megapixel ultra wide. So if you love cameras, this should be something interesting to care about. But we're rolling back into gaming and we want to see what this actually does for us. Now, as you know, some of the benchmarks that Qualcomm mentioned were just super crazy and insane. So we decided let's run those benchmarks ourselves. So we ran a bunch of those benchmarks. We ran Antutu, 3D Mark. We also ran, of course, some Geekbench to give you some good idea. So let's start off with Geekbench, which is pretty standard for us. And when we look over in our history here and you check out the CPU scores, I started with 9,000, 9,000 plus, 9,400, and yes, it is over 9,000. I had to say that. Of course you knew that was going to come in here. This thing has a single core of 3,014, multi-core of 9,452. That is absolutely insane. I've never seen this on a smartphone, so which means we're in for a treat here. Now, GPU scores, we're getting about 19,060 for OpenCL scores, which is also very, very nice. And I absolutely love those numbers. Now, when we go over to Antutu, this is where I've seen the highest Antutu scores on any device I've seen so far. This is basically 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That is 2,662,467, which beats everything here on Antutu Android standard performance test. It is higher than the Red Magic 9 Pro, ROG 8 Pro, you name it, any single phone that you can think of, it beats it. That is absolutely nuts. And then we go to 3D Mark to actually check out some of the scores here. We look at our wildlife scores. It says maxed out, pretty much maxed out on every aspect. We do our solar, we have it at 10,775, which is very nice. And then we go to wildlife extreme. I was just running tests to see how well it does. And basically it does 5,989, but it beats 100% Galaxy S24 Ultra Exynos, the iPhone 15 Pro, the Galaxy S24 Ultra, 100% of its scores, it beats it. Xiaomi 14, OnePlus 12, you name it. So again, it means that this chipset really does some insane numbers. So what does that mean? Well, let's just go ahead and game. Now, I want to preface this by saying none of these games have been updated. Remember, this chipset was announced last week. So it's been a week. I don't expect any of these games to be optimized. And also I didn't get a chance to actually go ahead and play some emulations, but when you see the performance, you should be happy moving forward. So we start off with Call of Duty Mobile, which is just a basic benchmark starting off tool. We know this game should run well. You can see the settings on screen. And when we go ahead and play the game, we're getting 120 frames per second, which is pretty nice. Very solid gameplay, very smooth. That high refresh rate on the screen also does a good job. And it was great to see. Now, I use the benchmark tool called Game Bench, which allows me to basically pull the benchmarks. And you're gonna see why I use this tool, because it's very interesting when we get to a specific game. So then we move over to PUBG Mobile. We maxed out PUBG Mobile, 120 frames per second on the highest settings you can think of right there. And we're able to get that. We're able to play fluidly, smooth. It was great gameplay experience. And as you can see with the benchmarks again, 120 frames per second, that was great. Then we went over to Call of Duty Warzone. Warzone is a game that you cannot play the visually high settings on Android to get anything close to 60 frames per second. And we went ahead and did that. And we actually did between 45 to 60 frames per second, which was great to see, and some really great performance there. I feel this game needs to be updated, and you can see there that most of the performance was through the GPU, nothing really pushing out on the CPU. Then finally, Genshin Impact. This one I wanted to spend time with. So I did 30 minutes of gameplay, highest settings on this game, and boy, 60 frames per second, no break. Full 60 frames per second all the way through. This was great to see, it was amazing, and honestly, it means, simply put, we need better games on Android. And this was great because when you combine this with a device like this that has a 7,000 milliamp battery drain was very, very minimal on this device. And I was able to play for quite a bit of time, just games back to back to back in this quick session that I had. Now, the other thing to note is that cooling on this device was really good. My highest temperatures, I got around 104 degrees, which was great compared to someone normally in situations like this. I'm getting like 115, 118, 104 degrees playing Genshin Impact for 30 minutes straight at the highest setting, 60 frames per second. That was amazing. So for me, gaming on this device is pretty cool and I absolutely love it. Now, I did mention that I didn't play any emulators, but as you can see, if I can do this with Genshin, it means that a lot of things should be emulated well. So Android game developers, I'm calling you. I want you guys to make games that take advantage of this chipset. I want to see console level games on here because we now have something that has the performance, the power, the efficiency, and just the chops to run it off that I think will be quite good. So I also want to ask you guys, what games do you want to see? What games do you think will actually max out this chipset and you'd like to see on this device or any devices like that? Let me know. But right now, I'm really loving what I'm getting from the Realme GT7 Pro. I think this is a good start here, especially gaming wise. The huge battery is a huge plus. Gaming performance is great with the chipset, and honestly, I'm super excited. So if you have any questions, any comments, let me know. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and always enjoy your entertainment.